So actually I want to stop sharing while I do the roll call. So I think someone said it was better that I not share my screen when I do that. So anyway, so if you're here, say present. Steve Clark.
Here. Present.
Okay, or you can say here too, I'm sorry. Jacqueline Rhodes.
Here.
Scott Sidlow. Jenny Sachs.
Here.
David Director.
I'm here.
Sean Stansel. I don't think he can make it. Becca Yurkovich. Becca Yurkovich, I thought I saw her.
Yeah, I do see her as well. She might not have
She's muted.
She's muted.
All right, I'll take that yes, she's here because we can see her. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. Cephas Hales Richardson.
Here.
Crystal Gald.
Here.
Francine Locke.
Here.
Here. Ed Orner. Mark Manfrey.
Here.
Thomas Schaefer.
Here.
Michael McNichol. Ed McGargy.
Here.
Laura Goodrich Cairns. Okay, great. Thank you for doing the roll call. It looks like whatever decisions we make, we have quorum, so that's good. So now I'll share my screen to go on to the rest of the agenda. Okay, so next, Jacqueline Rhodes, our vice chair, will be doing an icebreaker with us.
I wasn't sure, Carol, if you wanted me to use your icebreaker or not.
Oh yeah, you can, sure, yeah.
Although I do have something similar, and I thought it'd be good.
Oh no, please do whatever. Yeah.
So I was thinking if people could give like their one cool sustainability tip for the holiday season, and I could start with myself as an example, which probably a lot of people do, but you know, when I get gifts and gift bags and tissue paper and boxes, I actually keep them all. So I've never had to buy any. I still have like these huge bins filled with them because I constantly reuse them. So anyway, so next, Carol.
Oh, okay. I guess like for the holiday season. Well, I kind of went from being vegetarian back to being vegan. I feel like that's even like better for the environment. So I would say that, but it's beyond the holiday season. So that's mine.
Same. That's true. I do it all year round. Ed, how about you?
Well, I guess it would be that I put up less Christmas lights this year, and I keep forgetting to turn them on, so that's saving energy.
That's a good one. All right, so I apologize because I see a number of different faces, so I don't have my list in front of me. So I'll go with some names, Scott, and then if I miss people, let me know.
I'm not really, Christmas is not a big thing for me. So my goal with Christmas is to receive no gifts and to give no gifts. So that's pretty sustainable, but many people call me Scrooge for that way of looking at things, but that's where I fall in the Christmas celebrations.
Although that is true. We waste a lot, probably on packaging and wrapping and all that. All right, Jenny.
Oh, I have this same collection of gift bags that you do. And I'm trying to do some more kind of meaningful experience type gifts. So something, you know, more meaningful and hopefully memorable than stuff.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Let's see. David, if you could.
Well, I'm continuing my tradition of giving homemade cookies, which I've done ever since my daughter was very small. It was a way for us to do something together. So we've always made cookies and we've always given them out.
That's great. Steve, he came prepared with his hat.
We're hosting the entire family on Christmas Day for a big feast, and it's going to be entirely plant-based, and we're not telling anybody.
That's great. Becca.
Hello, sorry, I missed roll call. I have a new camera, so it wasn't working. I don't have anything new to contribute, but I will say I also hoard the boxes. And I also do cookies rather than like trying to just come up with stuff for the sake of giving stuff. I do cookies as well.
Very good. Let's see. Who am I getting? Tom?
Well, our family has continued to use the same bags year after year, decade after decade, as far as gift exchanges. But in terms of transportation, since I'm a transportation planner, if we have a white Christmas, I would recommend using skis to get around.
Yeah, fingers crossed for that one. Joe.
It's Mark. I'm sorry.
Mark. I'm like,
I'm on
wait, I'm confused.
I could hide under that name.
I can't see you either because the light keeps
I
shining.
know. I'll turn it off. That's my point. I don't want anyone to see my fat face. But kind of the same theme, using the same gift bags. Make sure you're recycling a lot of beer bottles and wine bottles. And at Rose Tree Park, it's totally LED this year, completely LED.
There you go. Nice. That's a good one. So our new commissioners, that Cephas and Crystal? Remind me.
Hi, yes. Hi, everyone. I'm a bag recycler too, but I think for my organization, we are normally always having events, or the parents are always doing events and you want to know what to do for kids. We have a policy where we don't use glitter. I think it's double fold because it's a mess to clean up, but also glitter can't be recycled and it's really hard to dispose of properly. So we have a no glitter policy at our job for events.
That's good. Francine and Carol, I'm missing people.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't go. Well, I can't really say much for my job because I'm still teleworking, and come to find out now my position is 100% telework. So yeah, no going into the office, yay. But I do miss it at the same time. For this Christmas, other than, having our employee, ugly Christmas sweater day and all that kind of stuff, this will be the first time ever that I can ever recall in my family history that I will be the one this year hosting Christmas dinner, which is basically a big change into our family tradition, like in 35 years. So I'm super excited. This is the first year I ever had a Christmas tree up. And everybody in my family know that I am a big recycler. So they know when it's time to clean up, make sure you separate the paper from the plastic, from the bottles and everything else. So that's all I have.
Francine.
So when I get a lot of bottles of wine, I do re-gift them. I shouldn't reveal that truth, but it is true. Sorry.
I think regifting is a good one. And please, if anybody else has tips they want to post in the chat, by all means. One thing that I've done with like at work settings was also you bring in things you don't use anymore and you gift it. And so everybody goes around and picks a number and they pick out a bag and make it fun too. but instead of buying things, you give away something that you just never use anymore. And then people, you know, will like trade and pick the thing that they'd like to have or would work better for them.
Did I miss it? Did Ed go? Did I miss it?
Ed went.
Oh, he did. I guess I missed his answer.
Right, Ed, did you go?
Tell me what your answer was.
Ed McGargy, did you go? He's stuck in
Sorry.
mute.
Yes, I'm sorry. Well, my answer was that I put up less Christmas lights this year, and I'm also, I'm
Oh,
also
okay.
not
Yeah,
remembering to turn them on. So it's saving a lot of energy that way.
It's like,
Oh, okay.
I thought I picked Ed.
So is that everybody?
I think that's all the commission members.
That was fun. Okay,
Mhm.
so I'll go back to the agenda. Approval of the meeting minutes. So let me call them up. Okay, here are the meeting minutes from the last meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion to, oh, by the way, so Sean isn't here. Can someone volunteer to take the minutes?
I will do so.
Oh, thanks, Francine. Okay, would someone like to make a motion to approve the November meeting minutes? Do we need time to read them?
I'll make the motion.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Jacqueline. Would someone like to second that motion?
Second.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
I didn't hear who seconded that. Carol, can you tell me who it was?
Scott.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, so moved. The meeting minutes are approved. Next is reintroduction of new commission members. Jacqueline, would you like to kick that off?
Yes, except that I lost my sheet.
Oh.
But we do have
Okay, Crystal is
two, right? Yes.
yes, Crystal and Cephas.
Hi,
Yeah.
everyone.
I like your
Hello.
antlers.
Thank you.
Right? Yes. So Crystal, if you could give a little bit blurb about yourself, that'd be great.
Yes, my name is Crystal Gold. I recently moved to Upper Darby, and this is actually me returning back to Delaware County. I currently serve in the Philadelphia area as the executive director of a homelessness agency. It's been really cool getting to learn about that part of Philadelphia and to even it was my first time ever being a property like landowner. We service 52 families at one given time, and some of our housing is transitional, so I can go up to like 70, 75. But some of the work that we've been doing, we've been able to get some conservation funding by revitalizing our housing portfolio. And then also it's been a vested interest of our tenants to, we're gifting them a park, but they also told us that they would rather have some green spaces to revitalize themselves. So this is a vested interest for them to have some agricultural self-sufficiency. So I'm really excited about that and excited about what I can learn from you guys to take to Philadelphia.
That's great. Welcome aboard, Crystal. It's great to have you. Cephas.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Cephas Hells Richardson. I'm currently employed with the U.S. Small Business Administration as an HR specialist. I served on the Chester Upland School District for 8 years. I was also the youngest to ever be elected in that position. What basically motivated me to basically, try to pursue to get on the board is due to my drive on basically having a clean environment that's not only like physical, but also which you can inhale as well. I'm sure a lot of you guys already know about the drama that's currently going on here in the city of Chester, especially with Covanta as well. So my drive is to make sure not only the city of Chester, but also the surrounding community and also in Delaware County that we are also afforded to have clean air. which is very important to not only to me, but also to my family as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for applying and definitely welcome as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so next up is the Chief Sustainability Officer update, Francine.
Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen.
While you do that, Francie, I was just going to say, Crystal, if there are any questions that come up in the midst of all this, since it's your, well, first for you, Crystal, I think you were at our last one for our meeting, let or post in the chat.
Okay. All right, so Crystal, did you want to add anything? I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
No, I had just put my screen back on. Thank you.
Okay, cool. All right, so last meeting, I shared an annual report with the commission. And last night I did another type of presentation like this for the council. And I'm just going to run through it quickly. I just wanted you to see what I shared with council regarding the sustainability work in Delaware County. So we basically talked about 4 stages of the work we're doing. The first is talking about the importance of climate change and sustainability. The second was team building within the organization. The third is talking about our achievements over the past year. And then the fourth is talking about baselines and future planning. So why are we doing this? Why is sustainability important to us? I think that this year, September 5th, 2021, was extremely impactful to have health experts publish an unprecedented joint statement in more than 200 peer-reviewed medical journals. These are medical and health experts and professionals. They declared that rapid climate change is the greatest threat to global public. And the statement went on to say that we can't wait for COVID-19 to pass before we address climate change. And so why? So the effects of climate change, it's a lot hotter during the summer and we have more warmer days during the winter. We have extreme weather. In Kentucky last week, we had the historic tornado, longest on the ground I think in the history of Kentucky. And we're seeing significant flooding in Delaware County and throughout Pennsylvania. And of course, the most vulnerable are the most impacted by climate change because a lot of times the resources aren't available to adapt to these changes. So we have low income populations who are most affected, the elderly, pregnant women, folks who suffer from mental health issues, outdoor workers who have to be outdoors during these conditions, and people with cardiovascular conditions. So the cause of this climate change is human activity. It's us, it's what we're doing. We burn fossil fuels in our vehicles. We burn fossil fuels for our energy in our buildings. And we're depleting our forests at the same time, which absorbs our carbon dioxide. And so what has Delaware County done to address this? Our government leaders here, our council members, really recognize the importance of climate change on local communities and the need for sustainability planning. In 2020, the council adopted a resolution to form a sustainability commission, and that's why we're here today. The commission was charged with providing reviews and recommendations to county council and developing a sustainability action plan, in addition to other items. And also this year, I was hired as the first chief sustainability officer. And to the right in this diagram, you'll see the 3 pillars of sustainability, or the triple bottom line. And the Sustainability Commission was charged with taking these things into consideration when giving guidance to council members. And that is people, the planet, and money, finances, being responsible with all those areas when making decisions about county operations. And so this year was really cool. When I was hired as the CSO, I was given the task of overseeing 6 departments: Public Works, Parks and Recreation, Planning, Fleet Management, Facilities Management, and the Conservation District. Tonight we have the Director of Parks and Rec here, the Director of Planning, and the Director of the Conservation District with us for this. They're members of the commission and they're here this evening. And throughout this year, we've met, we've built trust with one another, we've broken down silos, we've talked, we've shared data and stories and what our goals are. And we're starting to align all of that with sustainability as our focus area. And as we develop our sustainability plan for the county, we'll be able to then start reaching those goals and aligning our work to that. So just one of the things we wanted to do as a sustainability group was make our work very transparent to the public. So Parks and Recreation's mission, what they do, their proposed budget, which was just adopted last night, actually, for 2022. How much money are they spending out of the operating budget? Who the leader is, Mark Manfrey is here tonight, and how many staff members they have. We did this for each of the departments. And these are the accomplishments last year. in actually this year that we're still in, 2021, as you know, we acquired the largest green space in county history in Marple Township. We also, smaller wins, but significantly impacting people, is we reopened the Upland Redwood Center. It's a community center for seniors, and they have activities for seniors all day long. It's a health and wellness piece of our sustainability work. Free concerts all summer long in Rose Tree Park. The senior games were conducted for a week long this summer, in which seniors were performing physical activities and having fun with one another. There was also a very cool citizen science project that occurred, looking and taking account of the hawk migration. In addition to that, the Parks and Rec worked with the Pennsylvania Resources Council to conduct e-recycling collection events. Conservation District, Ed McGargy is here today. This is all in the budget. If you look on the sustainability website, the county's website, I'm sorry, all of this is in the budget for the county. Some of the wins that the Conservation District had this year, yard tree giveaways, environmental education program with students with the Envirothon 2021 contest, sharing the Conservation District planting trailer throughout the region to plant rain gardens and other greening projects, and even watershed restoration work. Now, mind you, the Conservation District in Delaware County's primary role, one of the major things it does, is it assesses, inspects, and issues permits for construction work, for erosion, soil erosion control, and stormwater management. So in addition to that, they're doing all these really wonderful sustainability pieces with the community. Planning Department, Tom Schaefer is here tonight, and this information's in the budget published on our website. What happened this year? Pretty awesome. 43 green space and trails projects were funded, totaling about a little more than $7 million to local municipalities, just to preserve open space or to create trails. And so that was a really big effort to reach out to all of the municipalities throughout the county. Additionally, the DEP funded a Darby brownfields assessment project, inventorying all of the brownfields that are present in Darby, ranking them and trying to develop plans for future development. And finally, as you know, I think we mentioned it quite a few times in the commission meetings, Delaware County took on the 1724 courthouse in Chester City, preserving this historical building, because part of our sustainability work, according to our commission, is to preserve our heritage and the history of the county. And this is the longest continuously used public building in the nation's history. It lives in Chester City. Also very cool stuff, our GIS or geo information spatial applications. It's when we have data and it's put onto a map, and you can use an app to find things and get information. And so our GIS department is now falling under the sustainability group, and I'm very happy to have them. You can go on the planning department's website and look up GIS. You can find where all the electric vehicle charging stations are in Delaware County, in addition to environmental features in the county. It's very cool. Public Works, this is the information that is located in the budget. Facilities management, what their mission is, their budget, their leader, what they do. And just in general, some of the very cool things that happened this year in sustainability in Delaware County that we've talked about as a Sustainability Commission this year. The county purchases 100% green energy certified renewable energy credits with wind energy. And we can't connect to a solar field directly, or a wind field directly. So we are able to purchase this from a distance to show our good faith and good effort in trying to use clean energy. We joined the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission's Power Purchase Committee with Bucks, Chester, and Montgomery counties to use our leveraging power as counties in the area to find sources of clean energy and get the best value for them. We completed our facility condition and needs assessment of all of our county-owned buildings and conducted energy surveys where we know now energy conservation measures within our buildings and where we should start with that work. We established the CPACE program for commercial properties so that these business owners can have loans that are attached to their tax for their building and for energy savings construction projects. And that means that the loan goes along with the building. So if the business owner leaves, those energy savings are there. And we finally, we enacted through council a regional streetlight procurement program with DVRPC, and we backed a loan for LED replacements for all streetlights and traffic lights in an area in Chester and Eddystone. So we also have a commitment to waste reduction. We have Ruth Abbey here tonight from Zero Waste Associates, who's going to present on the work that we're doing together to develop a 10-year mandated solid waste management plan. We have a zero waste task force in our Sustainability Commission as a subcommittee. And we also held a public hearing, as you may have seen this year, to listen to the community and to listen to folks who are experts in the area about solid waste in Delaware County. Our fleet management folks, we have a commitment to transitioning to 100% electric vehicles. In 2021, we received 2 grants to purchase 15 electric vehicles, and we installed 3 charging stations. Today, I just gave the last information to the Eastern Pennsylvania Alliance for Clean Transportation for a new application for this. We're trying to purchase 69 more electric vehicles and 40 electric vehicle charging stations that will be located throughout the county for public use and for municipal use. And so this year, we're working on our climate action plan and our sustainability plan. We're inventorying greenhouse gas emission sources, and we're also looking at the holistic approach to sustainability throughout the county. We hope to, right now we're collecting baseline data on everything, how much trash is being generated, how much greenhouse gases, how much fuel are we using, what programs are out there. It's a lot of work, but that's what we're doing. We're benchmarking this year. We're building relationships. And next year, we hope to have in September our sustainability plan. After a lot of work with the community, getting feedback on our goals, we have brought it down to 6 focus areas: energy, health and wellness, transportation, waste and resource management, climate resiliency, and natural resources. From this, we're building high-level goals, targets, and actions. And finally, in 2022, we will have our solid waste management plan nearly completed. Ruth will be able to talk about that more. We will be embarking on a capital improvement program that's based upon data, and we're going to be leveraging more partnerships. And if you would like to know more, please visit our website. Thank you.
Thank you, Francine. For any of the commission members, do you have any questions for Francine? Okay, if not, and we will address public comment when that time comes on the agenda if there are people sending in questions through the chat. So next on our agenda is we have guest speakers. So our first one is going to be Ruth Abbey. Francine had already mentioned her from Zero Waste Associates. Do you have a presentation to share, Ruth?
Yes, I was gonna share my screen. Is that okay?
Yep, please, thank you. And you have a half hour.
Awesome. Okay. And I would like to introduce my colleague, Alex Danovich is here. And so maybe we could just start off before I share my screen to just introduce ourselves. So I'm Ruth Abbey with Zero Waste Associates. I'm based in Alameda, California, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area. We are very vulnerable to sea level rise, being on the San Francisco Bay and an island in the Bay. And so we very much appreciate communities like Delaware County who are taking climate action seriously. So I wanted to shout out to your work and thank you, Francine, for leading that effort for the county. I've worked in the area of recycling and zero waste for over 25 years and worked with communities across the US on recycling implementation, program manager, zero waste and solid waste planning. And all of our team members who I will introduce, they're not all here today, but I'll introduce them. They're all practitioners. You know, we work as boots on the ground, working with communities to plan and implement programs to maximize recovery from landfills and incinerators. So we're so thrilled to be working with a county that is taking this issue so very seriously and working to address the issues and concerns of the community. So I wanted to ask Alex if you wanted to unmute for a minute and introduce yourself. Are you there, Alex?
Yes. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm really excited to be part of the Zero Waste Associates team. I'm actually a Delaware County resident. I moved here about 5 years ago. And I have about 25 years experience working on recycling operations, municipal and institutional program design and zero waste initiatives. So I'll echo what Ruth said. We were all really excited to see the RFP that the Sustainability Committee put out, and Francine led on that. And that, I think, brought together a really, really great team that we're excited to dig in and move forward. So I think Ruth is going to talk a little bit more about the next steps in the plan. That's
great. So I will go ahead and share my screen. Can you all see that okay? Okay. As Alex said, we were so thrilled to read the RFP because, we're pretty busy, but not too busy enough to work with a community who's very focused on zero waste. And so we were so thrilled to see the county's approach to the municipal waste management plan update, to have a focus on waste prevention, recycling, and maximizing diversion from landfills and incinerators. So we are so thrilled to be working with you all. I'm going to kind of go introduce our team. These are our team members. You met me and Alex, and then I'll talk about the rest. And then I'll kind of go through the scope of work approach. We've had a couple of meetings with Francine and her team. We also met with the Zero Waste Committee last week, and we hope to sort of be partners as we go along with the commission and with the Zero Waste Committee. As we move forward, we will be coming back and seeking your guidance as we go along. And then I will kind of go over the schedule. And as Francine said, there are some issues with the schedule, which we'll also discuss. So in addition to Alex and myself, we have Gary Liss from Zero Waste Associates. He always says, today he told me he has 50 years of experience in municipal management of recycling and solid waste management programs. And he has been the program manager for the city of San Jose in California. He's also been the mayor of his small rural town in California. Jeff Morris, who is with Sound Resource Management Group, is also our colleague. We work on a lot of programs together. His specialty is life cycle analysis, and we'll talk a little bit about that when I get to that portion of the scope. He has invented some strategies for really taking life cycles seriously, and is a wonderful resource for us in this project. Amy Perlmutter is based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and she's been a leader in zero waste management issues since her days in New Jersey, in San Francisco, and now back in Cambridge and Boston area. And she specializes in stakeholder engagement and outreach, which is a big focus of our approach and our plan. Susan Hubbard works with Alex at Nothing Left to Waste, and she will be our project advisor, particularly looking at things like processing, recycling, the practical side of our work. Jeremy Drake and Amanda Rice Waddell are both Zero Waste Associates, and they will be doing a lot of the research and analysis, documenting the information, supporting the work of the surveys and stakeholder outreach, but also analyzing the composition and projections and potential diversion of the strategies that we come up with together. So that will be exciting. And if commissioners want to stop me for a quick question or clarification, please do. We'll of course leave questions at the end. I'll kind of go through this in the next 10 minutes or so, 10 or 15 minutes. So I did want to say a little bit more about Zero Waste Associates. We work with zero waste communities around the US. Here's an example of some of our recent projects with the city of Austin, Baltimore, Boston, Broomfield, Colorado, which is in the Denver region, Gainesville, which is in Florida, Missoula, Montana. Back home here in Palo Alto, San Francisco, and San Jose, we're working with these cities that have a vision of zero waste, just like the county is looking at. And we have worked with them on stakeholder engagement, equity and inclusion and justice, program and facility financial analysis and greenhouse gas analysis, and now life cycle analysis. This is our schedule, and then I'll kind of go into some detail about some of the scope items. But overall, we started, we kicked off this project with Francine at the end of November, and have been working on our front-loaded first task, which is the some scenarios for long-term waste disposal. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. That is an early deliverable for us, so we are grinding away on that and hope to get something together by the end of this month. And it's important in terms of the future decision-making that the county and the authority will be undertaking in the early part of 2022, and that's why it is front-loaded. But then we're going to step back and do our community engagement. And in zero waste, the difference between zero waste and solid waste management planning is really about the community. Because in solid waste management planning, you can say, oh, we have this many tons and this is where the landfills are, this is where the incinerators are, transfer stations, kind of very cut and dried. But with zero waste planning, we're really looking at behavior change. We're looking at new programs, policies, and infrastructure. We're looking at upstream strategies to reduce waste. And I was thrilled to hear all about the waste reduction practices that y'all have in terms of your holiday planning, and that's awesome. And to really change the status quo, which is really, I think, what we are engaged to support the county in looking at. So we will be working on the goals with the community input. And when we are proposing kind of a series of check-ins with the community at different stages along. So you can see we're hoping for early kind of kickoff meeting with the community in January, late January, then reviewing with them sort of our menu of zero waste initiatives in February, and then finally coming back to them with kind of what we're talking about, the draft program elements in May. And then the solid waste facilities inventory. These are all from the scope of work and the RFP that the county provided, but it's exactly what we would want to do anyway. Projecting the quantities of materials, both in terms of solid waste, recycling, composting. Our big focus will be on the waste management activities analysis, which was quite lengthy in the county's RFP, and I'll talk about that. We'll be doing some strategic analysis of those alternatives, and then finally preparing a solid waste management plan. And there will be a decision made very soon, probably, or rather that is a substantial revision or a non-substantial revision. Back in 2002, the county did a non-substantial revision to its solid waste management plan. And then in 2013, it was a substantial revision. If it is a substantial revision, what that does is it requires more community input, which is great. So rather than a 30-day circulation of the draft plan, there would be a 90-day circulation of the draft plan. This schedule is based on the 30-day circulation. I think we're sort of anticipating that we might need a 90-day circulation, in which case we would be looking at the end of 2022 for the final draft review process. So I'm going to go through a little bit more detail in some of the items that we're working on. So the very first thing that we're working on right now are scenarios for long-term waste disposal. And this, I think, is really important. The community has asked for it. What are the alternatives to the current way of managing residual waste at the end of life? One way, of course, will be reducing it through zero waste strategies, recycling, composting, and waste reduction. So that's going to be a big component of our plan. And so what we're looking at right now is, so if we're down to, and a lot of zero waste communities think about this, if we're down to just a few tons, a tablespoon of waste, it's not as big of a concern where that is managed. A lot of communities have invested in put or pay agreements with landfills and waste energy facilities specifically to guarantee that the tons are there. That's kind of antithetical to zero waste. And we've worked with communities that had put or pay agreements that then said, okay, we'll just put, our goal is zero waste. We're going to pay for our obligation to the landfill or the incinerator, and then we're also going to reduce our tons. So I think that that's really important consideration. And as the county and the authority have some decision-making coming up with, that will be important to do. So our job, according to RFP, is to look at some alternatives to the status quo, which include long-term private hauling to private landfills in the region, of which there are some. Pennsylvania also imports waste from other communities outside of Pennsylvania, so that's an opportunity too. And then to look at the potential of having county trash go to the Rolling Hills landfill. Right now we use that for our ash disposal. What would be the consequences of using it for our trash, which is, the purpose of the waste energy facility is it basically does shrink the volume of the materials. So we're going to be looking at that. There are some issues with that, some host impacts. So we'll be coming back to you with that deliverable when it's complete. I'm going to go on to the rest of the fun stuff of zero waste, which is working with the community on goal setting. As I mentioned, we will be conducting 20 listening sessions, both with community groups and industry players, recyclers, composters, folks involved in the reuse industry, people who do private hauling, what kind of programs are they offering to their communities. We will also be surveying the municipalities throughout the county to understand their current operations, their current contracts, and their policies. And of course, the entire goal will be to bring everybody along to the new zero waste approach. And so that will be important engagement. We're both getting information from the municipalities, but also engaging them in our discussion. So, and then as I mentioned, we will have some online meetings. We will also have some in-person meetings, a pandemic wishing, and hopefully we'll get to meet all of you very soon. We have a portion of our work that's called a facility inventory. And basically that's documenting all of the facilities across the county and regionally.
Could I ask a
please
question?
do. Please do.
As part of that listening part on the previous slide, are you also going to be coordinating with like Montgomery County or Philadelphia on what they're doing and so forth? Is it just local to Delco?
Yeah, sure. No, originally our approach was to have it be county focused, but if there was a benefit from the point of view of the commissioners that to talk to other nearby communities about their plans and programs, we're totally open to that. So we definitely will take that as a recommendation, and we'll talk to Francine about it. I think it would be no problem. I think it would be a good idea because a lot of times waste issues do not stay within borders. And so I think it would be appropriate to understand what other communities are doing and how that might influence future decision-making. So it's a good idea. I definitely would take that as a recommendation. Since I'm kind of running a little short on time, I'm going to kind of breeze through a couple of these things so we can leave more time for questions, because I think that the commissioners will really have a good insights to share at this point. Since we're early on in our project, we want to be able to pick your brains a little. So I'm going to breeze through this and then pause for your additional comments and questions. So we will be doing a system analysis. Our system analysis means we look at the quantities and compositions of the materials that are still going to destructive disposal. We are understanding the composition so that we can identify outlets for future diversion, right? So we'll be looking both upstream and downstream. Upstream meaning waste prevention, procurement, those other things. Downstream meaning things like recycling, composting, and destructive disposal. We'll be looking at service opportunities, which in planning we sometimes call a gap analysis. We'll be doing a market analysis. So what can be marketed regionally? Everything. I mean, we believe that everything that is generated in the county probably has a home. There's going to be some things, legacy materials that can't be recycled or composted or reused, but we will be trying to find out all of those local outlets. Waste management activities is a big focus of our task. What we've proposed to do is to use our zero waste planning checklist, which we developed with the US EPA and is now on a tool called Managing and Transforming Waste Streams. If you Google that at the US EPA site, you can see 100 different waste management alternatives or zero waste alternatives and 350 case studies, which we help document with the US EPA to identify communities across the country that are doing the kinds of things that we might consider for implementation or expansion in Delaware County. So we'll come up with a menu of zero waste initiatives. We will do 20 or 30 kind of strategy impact analysis, a deeper dive. Where is this going on regionally? What is happening locally? What are some national models and how can we do that? We will use this information to present to the community at that menu of zero waste strategy. And then we will kind of refine that list as we go along for what will ultimately be included in the municipal solid waste management zero waste plan. I mentioned Jeff Morris, who will be assisting us with the strategic analysis and life cycle assessment. Life cycle assessments are tricky. It has all to do about your boundaries, about what you're counting and what you're not counting. But Jeff has a lot of experience with this and his tool, which is the Measuring Environmental Benefits Calculator. We will be using county-specific information to document the alternatives and comparing those with the status quo. So climate change, so this is not just environment, it's human health, human toxics and chemicals, carcinogens, eutrophication, acidification, ecotoxicity, ozone depletion, smog formation, and monetized environmental score are all things that this tool does, and we're excited to apply this to the county's situation. And I just have one or two more slides and then we'll pause. Using all of that community input, strategic analysis, evaluation of programs, comparing ourselves to local, regional, and national examples, we will come up with a municipal waste management plan that will either be a substantial revision or it won't. And it will include all of the things that are required by the state to be in a municipal waste management plan, including documentation of the goals and objectives, actives, implementation strategy, a schedule, enforcement, resources, and a framework for monitoring and enforcement. So we are excited to begin this journey. This is just a slide again of our schedule. We've started, we're here with you now, and we're excited to be on this journey with you. Process of discovery. We know that there is a very active community that's interested in the outcome of this. It will be a part of your future sustainability and greenhouse gas emissions reduction plans. And we're very excited to get going. So I'll stop sharing for a minute and see what questions or comments the commissioners have. Was there anything, Francine or Alex, you wanted to add into the discussion at this point?
I'm really happy that we're starting with this approach. I think there's a lot of details we have to work out. And tomorrow, just so the commission knows, we do have our, I think you even mentioned it, we have our zero waste task force meeting or our subcommittee meeting, and the DEP is going to be there to talk to us about some of the things you mentioned in your presentation.
I think that's just a meeting with the planning group, just the staff planning. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Next week, we had our meeting last week with the committee. Tomorrow we are going to be meeting with the staff from the DEP, and we're going to kind of pick her brain about a number of issues so that we're meeting early on with DEP so that we are in complete alignment with the state needs.
So tomorrow it's me and you guys talking about logistics and things like that, and then the next week we're doing that other meeting. Gotcha.
The 7th of January. With the,
yes, because we'll come of the holidays.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Great. And Alex, did you wanted to add anything at this point?
No, I think that was great. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, and really appreciate.
Is it okay if I ask a quick question? I'm sorry. This is Becca Yorkovich. I'm a committee member, and I'm specifically a municipal representative. So I know that you guys mentioned that you guys are looking to do a municipal survey, but I was just wondering, are you guys looking to do any further engagement of the municipalities, as they would be the ones having to enforce a larger scale zero waste plan?
Absolutely. I mean, that would be our hope. So our initial outreach to the municipalities is really to get data, but we're hoping to use that as an opportunity for engagement. So we would actually look to you and other municipal representatives to see, I mean, everyone is in the county. I mean, we're not, the community is the county, and it includes the municipalities. So when we talk about community engagement, we're talking about people who live in the municipalities as well as everyone else. So we really do want the community members, institutions, large generators, businesses. We would like everyone to be involved in supporting the outcomes that the county would like to see. And so we consider kind of the planning process to the beginning process of program implementation. And since the municipalities are kind of fundamental in a lot of that programming, we would definitely need not just the elected officials, staff members, and community members, business representatives from the municipalities to be as involved as we can get them. So we would look to you to give us guidance on how best to conduct that outreach and make sure that we are getting full representation from the municipalities across the county.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
And yet, any other questions from commission members? Okay, well, thank you, Ruth. Thank you for your presentation.
All right, thank you so much, and we'll look forward to working with you throughout the next several months.
Next on our agenda.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, next on our agenda is Liz Campatello from DVRPC. You have 15 minutes for your presentation.
Carol, I don't see.
Is she here?
Liz. I don't see Liz here. I'm not sure why. She did confirm with me earlier.
Okay.
So I'll try to reach out to her if we just want to move on with the meeting.
Is this about the power purchase agreement?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, that's what it's supposed. That is what Liz is talking about.
Okay, great.
Okay, so next on our agenda is public comment. So let's see. One question from public comment is which green energy marketer is being used to purchase the wind energy credits? Oh,
I'm sorry. I was actually trying to do an email to Liz at the same time. You know what? I'm not sure Liz actually could tell us that question, answer that question. So we use Provident Energy as our energy consultant for the county. And they have provided us with the information about, let me just put that slide back up. Hold on for a second. And Mike Ewell asked that question, correct?
Yes, correct.
So it was in my slide. Hold on for a second. Okay. So it's Green E registered, energy certified renewable. So I'm not sure if you've heard of Green E, but that's like a registered firm or logo name. I'm not sure. I wish that Liz was here to answer that question.
I could answer that if you want me to.
Yes, please, Mike. Please do.
I'll come on camera for a second. So Green E is a certifying body. It's a private certification of green energy products. We've actually campaigned against them in the past when they used to allow much dirtier things to be qualifying, but right now there's a lot of wind out there, so it's easy to find 100% wind energy products that aren't necessarily full of burning landfill gas or other things that masquerade as renewable. So it sounds like you're buying 100% wind, which is great. I was just curious to know which provider, because that'll tell us if it's in Pennsylvania perhaps, or from Illinois, or if they also deal in dirty energy sources. So I was just curious about that, and that's why I asked.
I'll find out more information. Was that satisfying though, the Green E? Does that tell you what you need? Or
yeah, Green E is the certifier, but they allow biomass, landfill gas, and other dirty things to be mixed into the renewable energy mix. Even certain amounts of natural gas and fossil fuels can be part of a mix that's certified by them. So that's why knowing that's 100% wind, which sounds like what you had presented, is good. But just knowing that it's Green E is not enough all the time.
I'll try to find out more information to share with the commission and the public.
Great, thank you.
And one of the other questions in the chat was, does any aspect of your plan include the educational system? And that was a question for Ruth, and Ruth replied, we definitely should include engagement with institutions like school districts and higher education. We need to inspire the next generation of zero wasters. Any other questions? Any other public comment? Is there, can you check the email address? I don't know how to check the email address, Fran. Is that a part of it too, Francine?
Yes, I'll check right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I don't see anything from today.
Okay.
No,
thank you.
I only see Twitter updates, and there is something from Paul, but it's nothing that you'd want to know because it's sort of an advertisement.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Well, thank you. With that, we'll go on to the next item on the agenda, and that's the Sustainability Plan Development Update and Request for Support to Complete Tasks. Francine?
Yes. So with the departure of our Sustainability and Resilience Manager, I need help until we can get another person. I think the best bet is for after the holidays. I'll send out, well, if you guys remember last commission meeting, there was a very long list of tasks that need to be completed for the sustainability plan to move forward. And so after the new year, I would like to share that with you guys and see if folks would sign up to be involved in those tasks that need to take place. I don't have anything specific tonight, but that's the plan moving forward.
Okay. All right. Next is subcommittee updates. Oh, wait, let's see. What was in the chat? Oh, Crystal says she'd be happy to help.
Thank you, Crystal.
Okay, so subcommittee updates, Jacqueline.
Yeah, so we just have one committee that's meeting right now, which is the Zero Waste Task Force, and it's been great. We get some help from people that are not on the commission. So that's included Mike Ewell, and I'm trying to find his name.
Maria, I'm gonna return.
Although I think he dropped off, so. But definitely some others that have both that are on the commission as well as off. And that's been really helpful for the task force. And if others would like to,
whoever has themselves. You're muted. You're muted, Jacqueline.
it was me. I'm sorry that I had background noise. The office is right by the front door, and the door wasn't shut. So that's why I just told them to shut it so that you could hear me. So sorry, it was a little bit of a distraction. So the Zero Waste Task Force has been meeting every other week on Fridays from noon to 1. And before we had our wonderful consultant on board, we were talking about different things that we could do to help provide support to the municipalities, and also look at identifying some great projects that are out there in terms of, recycling, any other programs to try to reduce waste. Is it, municipal ordinances, for banning bags, things like that. So we should have a little bit more guidance as we move forward. We also had the opportunity to meet with the consultants and go over those details and figure out a path forward. So, if there are still people interested in participating, you're more than welcome to. You can email me. I just consider myself the convener of the group, and we should be meeting again after the holidays. And I'll send out an announcement as well. Other than that, I told Francine that happy to help with trying to find people for the other subcommittees so that, these subcommittees follow along with the sections of the sustainability plan that, is being developed. And obviously that's a lot of work. And there's only so many of us. So I think the more we can find people that are willing to volunteer, in the community to participate. Also, I think, being an important aspect of this is having diverse members on those committees as well, both geographically, as well as their backgrounds and things like that. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Like I said, there are others on here that participate in the Zero Waste Task Force, Becca, and Carol, and Scott, and many others. So feel free to ask any questions. But like I said, we've been trying to figure out our way a little bit and also see where we could provide support to the county in this process moving forward.
Does anyone have any question for Jacqueline?
I have a general question. I think, Francine, you mentioned that the county is going to be buying, or at least applying for 69 more EVs and 40 chargers shortly. And in our last meeting, I asked about the federal stimulus money, and apparently all that money would be clearer and the grants like January, February-ish. Is this grant not assuming, or is it part of that new programs, or would there be more possible programs and grants for EVs early next year?
Steve, thank you for bringing that up, because the AFIG grant is a state grant. The infrastructure bill, we have been working feverishly as a team here. Tom Schaefer is on the call, and he and his team have been meeting with our lobbyist firm, Holland and Knight, and they have provided us with an outline of all of the funding opportunities that are going to be available. And we are strategizing on projects that fit into the slots for each one of those funding opportunities. And electric vehicles and infrastructure are a very big part of that. Tom, do you want to mention anything?
Francine, we looked at the request for comments that the U.S. Department of Transportation issued, I guess it was in November. And I did review that and they came up with some comments that we could ask or suggestions that we could forward to USDOT. And I did learn that DVRPC staff will also be submitting comments, so we'll be coordinating with them.
So yeah, we have big plans, Steve. We want to take full advantage of the infrastructure money. And with our sustainability plan forming there, and with our energy conservation measures that have been prescribed for our facilities too, we're hoping that we can pull together a package about that as well. So we're looking at the infrastructure for electric vehicles, the purchase of electric vehicles, energy conservation measures in our buildings. There's quite a few different opportunities. In fact, you know what? At our next meeting, I will be happy to share with you what we're doing. I think that's a great topic of discussion. And Liz is here now. Liz has joined us. I think I may have told her to come at 7 o'clock. I may have made a mistake on the agenda because I knew she was going to be presenting a little bit later down the line on our agenda.
Okay. Okay, well, Liz, or would you like, oh, I'm sorry. Were there any other questions or anything? Okay, so Liz, are you able to share your screen and do your presentation? You have 15 minutes.
Okay. All right, good evening, everyone. One second. Hi, everyone. Hi, I'm Liz Campatello with the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, and Francine asked if I could come in and give you an update on where we are with the Regional Power Purchase Agreement partnership, since I think we presented to you in February of this year. So since then, we've made quite a bit of progress as a group. And so we want to update on you on what we've been up to over the last 9 or 10 months. And we're also in the process of hiring a consultant to assist the partnership. And so we want to update you on what we've done there. So just as a refresher, the partnership is a group of counties, Bucks, Chester, Delaware, and Montgomery, and DVRPC, that are working on the exploration of aggregation opportunities for the county operations. So Bucks, Chester, Delaware, and Montgomery. Aggregation opportunities for the procurement of electricity and renewable energy to power county operations. And the kind of underlying goals of this partnership, why we're exploring this together, is the counties want to achieve low and transparent, long-term, stable electricity prices. The second bullet is sort of the reason why we all came together in the first place, which was all the counties have significant renewable energy goals. And so there's a desire to achieve those targets and those goals through access to large-scale renewables. And also by exploring the ability to work together in this capacity, we may have the ability to onboard additional members through a procurement like this, such as municipalities and schools that share these common renewable energy goals. And the group worked really hard to kind of learn best practices in all of these areas, but in order to explore and evaluate and also execute aggregate procurement as it relates to electricity or renewable energy, we definitely need the expertise of a consultant that works in energy procurement. So our most recent endeavor was issuing an RFP and actually onboarding a consultant. So we'll talk you through how that process went. And just kind of taking a little bit of a step back, DVRPC is trying to kind of more formalize how we're approaching this area. This project is one of several projects that we're trying to formalize that really targets greenhouse gas reduction in the region as it focuses on energy. And this is a very effective way that we feel we can really get at the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, by focusing obviously on the development of renewable energy for these county operations. But probably most importantly is that every county is in line with where Delaware County is right now in terms of thinking about sustainability and renewable energy in a very new, not new, but like there's much more renewed focus to this. And it's not just the counties, obviously many municipalities are passing Ready for 100 ordinances. So from a regional perspective, we're seeing a lot of cohesion and a lot of new momentum around let's reduce greenhouse gas emissions, let's set targets and take action in this area. So all of the partners within the partnership are very driven to meet renewable energy goals. And so we're really excited about this momentum and where this partnership is going. This is a snapshot of what currently happens at each of the counties. Right here in the middle, I can't recall actually if I showed this at the last presentation, but you can kind of see the usage of all of the counties. Delaware County actually using the most out of all four, but there's similarity between all four. And just to kind of put it in perspective, altogether, it's just under 100 gigawatt hours of electricity annually compared to, like, for example, the city of Philadelphia, which is 700 gigawatt hours. And just when we're talking about this, we're talking about operations. So really, this is the electricity that is used in county buildings, facilities, as it relates to electricity. And so the idea is if we can aggregate together and get like a larger, size, obviously we'll be better positioned for these types of procurements that we're trying to do. The county right now uses Provident Energy as the broker. Provident actually aggregates a bunch of local governments and schools as part of this aggregation to get an electricity supply contract for the counties. And it's actually a pretty good rate. You can see over here, it's just under 5 cents per kilowatt hour, which is really competitive, especially considering that electricity prices have gone up a little bit recently. And the county and Delaware County and the 3 other counties have a fixed price full requirements contract with WGL through the end of 2023. And every county is also purchasing national Green E certified renewable energy credits as part of this on top of it for 100% of their electricity. So the goal through this partnership is there a way to kind of, more strategically sit in the driver's seat in this procurement and also move away from just doing direct purchases to doing something that's more strategic in terms of it being a renewable energy project that is directly the result of a procurement. So basically taking credit for the additionality of a specific renewable energy project coming online because of the demand that the counties are putting together through this effort. So we've explored what other regions have done, and we've kind of researched this a lot. This is sort of a summary of what we've done over the last year. The 4 counties in DVRC sit on a steering committee, and that committee meets monthly that we have since September of 2020. And through those meetings, we've learned about different regions or cities and SEPTA also that have either gotten together to aggregate their demand and purchase electricity together, or different approaches to doing large-scale renewables, particularly looking at power purchase agreements. So we've had various groups come and present to the steering committee over the course of the last year and a half, and we've learned a lot through that effort. We also participated in an aggregation cohort on large-scale renewables that was organized by the Rocky Mountain Institute and the World Resources Institute. That went from September of 2021 to January of this year. And that was a really deep dive into a lot of the different technical, legal, and contractual aspects of entering into a power purchase agreement and what that might look like. And then starting in spring of last year, we started to try to formalize the partnership to really get ready for us being able to work together cooperatively, to do procurements, to explore this more seriously. So we started with a letter of intent that was drafted by the partnership, and all counties and DVRPC signed that in April of 2021. Really, that just kind of formalizes the partnership and the roles within the group. And we did that also to sort of establish our ability to enter into a memorandum of understanding together, which we knew we needed to do if we were going to hire a consultant to help us figure out where we were going. So in June of last year, we hosted a workshop with all of our commissioners where we kind of explained to them generally what we've been learning, what we want to get out of hiring a consultant, and just kind of where we think we might be going with this group, with the idea that we would all be asking the commissioners to enter into a memorandum of understanding to hire a consultant to help us navigate these different options going forward. And so all counties signed that MOU last summer, and that committed each county to $30,000 cost share. So that's a $120,000 budget total for this energy services consultant. And then the MOU also kind of laid out the roles of everyone. I actually have a slide just about this. So the roles for DVRPC under the MOU are that we draft and issue the RFP, we hire and manage the consultant on behalf of the partnership. And then each of the counties is really kind of directing the management of that consultant, serving on the project steering committee, and just kind of being ready to make decisions and execute as we go forward. There's going to be a lot of data collection as we go on. There's going to be a lot of workshops and learning and assessments, and so the counties are committed to being engaged in that as well. And again, our budget for this is going to be $120,000, and that's all kind of outlined in the MOU itself. So the next step after the MOU is for us to draft a request for proposals, which DVRPC did with significant input from each of the counties as well. And this is kind of what the RFP outlined. The scope of work for that included 2 phases. Phase 1 is feasibility. So the consultant is going to evaluate and educate us on and propose strategies for opportunities for the procurement of electricity and the procurement of large-scale renewables that we can do as a group. And again, like we're really looking for the consultant to identify opportunities that allow us to meet these 3 goals as it relates to those procurements. So low and stable electricity prices, ability to access large-scale renewables, and also the ability to onboard additional parties within the region into these procurements. So the feasibility stage is going to be a really important first phase. We're hoping to kind of kick that off in January of this year. I think that could take up to 6 months. That really depends on the amount of education that's needed, and what strategy we decide to choose, obviously. And so the next phase is development. And so that's if all the counties decide that they want to move forward with the procurement, we're looking for a consultant to also assist us with implementing that preferred strategy. And so the development phase is really everything, assisting us with any sort of governance structure, new MOUs that might be needed, all of the procurements and solicitations. And then when we get to the point of negotiation and contract, really being there as our sort of owner's agent through that whole process. And then once we execute these aggregations, we're going to need someone to help us manage those strategies over time. So this is going to be a long-term relationship with this consultant. And then I just also wanted to mention that the RFP paved a way, like we used it as an opportunity to lock in a price for each county to have their own contract with the consultant if they wanted to do some one-on-one services as it related to on-site renewables, because a lot of counties are starting to explore that right now. And if there was any county that wanted to take that to the next level and needed, consultant assistance, we just wanted to have this contract be leveraged for that purpose, just so that you wouldn't have to go out for another RFP. Unclear whether or not any county is actually going to do that at this point, but it's just a nice to have part of this contracting process that we're going through right now. So this was the RFP process that we did. We posted the RFP in August of 2021 and we got 8 proposals in by early October. The evaluation committee was basically the members of the steering committee. So a few folks from each county and a few folks from DVRPC, and we evaluated the proposals according to these criteria down here. And then we ended up interviewing half the respondents. We got really, really great proposals in this time. It was a very challenging review process, actually. We selected NLX North America as the consultant that we wanted to go with. They really shone in all of these areas. And a big reason for this is that they've actually done almost a very similar scope of work for other regions that have come together to do almost exactly what we're looking to do. So there's the Baltimore region and the Pittsburgh region are two very good examples of multiple cities and or counties coming together to buy electricity, and then also to leverage that, standing of procurement to then integrate large scale renewables into that. And NLX was the consultant for both of those groups. NLX also is the consultant for the city of Philadelphia and their procurement strategy. So they have a lot of local understanding and knowledge as well. So we're really excited to get to work with them. Our board authorized us to enter into contract on December 8th. And so DVRPC is going to be sending the contract to NLX and hopefully entering into contract with them in early January, so we can start on this process shortly after that. And just to quickly note, our budget for this that we locked in are with this contract actually is underneath the $120,000. So we're really happy about that. And it's a not to exceed budget. And then for any county that wants to use these services to do any one-on-one work, we locked in a $233 an hour rate, for NLX's whole team. And then they've also, I should mention, subbed with a company called Ecometric that is going to be doing a lot of the renewable energy portion of the work. And Ecometric, I believe, is based out of Exton, Pennsylvania. This is our general timeline, going all the way back to entering into MOU. So we were pleased that we were able to kind of keep it moving, and feasibility is going to kick off in January, and probably will take at least the first half of next year to really get to development phase. And that's all I have. I'm happy to take additional questions about what we're up to.
I think we have a question from Mike Ewell. Mike, do you want to just say it?
Sure. So this power purchase agreement, is it going to be limited to wind and solar, or are non-renewables like nuclear power or waste coal burning going to be allowed, or so-called renewables that are actually pretty dirty, like burning trash, trees, or landfill gas, on the table?
My guess is that we as a partnership are going to take the definition of renewable energy as it is typically defined, not as the state of Pennsylvania defines it, and not seek it to be, one of the sort of not traditionally considered renewable sources like waste coal underneath the AEPS. I believe that's the desire. And a lot of this is driven, of course, by, I can't remember how many counties assigned the Ready for 100, but everyone is sort of thinking like renewable energy is really driving this. And that is defined locally as traditional renewable sources, so solar and wind.
Okay. Yeah, I know Ready for 100 is very specifically to solar and wind from what I know. But most definitions of renewable include a lot of combustion technologies that are not clean at all, many of them dirtier than coal for the climate. So if that could be made very explicit that no combustion sources are allowed, that would be really helpful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Liz, I had a question, and excuse my ignorance on this, but when you say look for large sources, or I forget the exact terminology, I assume that's referring to where, let's say, a county has an opportunity with either large lot, maybe it is a brownfield. I mean, who knows what the situation might be where we could install or have partners install like a solar field or something like that. Is that what's being taken into consideration as well?
Yeah, I think the example that is maybe most commonly understood is what Philadelphia did. So they have a 70 megawatt solar array that is going to be located in Adams County, Pennsylvania, on farmland. And that is the large scale renewable that they're going to be accessing. So they have a physical power purchase agreement with that solar developer. So all the electrons that are developed by that solar system are going to basically get delivered to the city of Philadelphia and will be the kilowatt hours that they used to power their facilities. Well, 22.3% of their facilities, because 70 megawatts is actually only enough to meet that portion of their demand. So that's what we're considering here, is developing a large scale renewable project. So think like 20 megawatts or bigger, to offset a portion of the county's power. And that the location of that, I think that's something that we need the consultant to help us evaluate, because there's a lot of factors that go into what the price will be for the power, and sometimes like the cheapest places are already cleared land, like farmland, in places that don't have as expensive land value as you find in southeastern Pennsylvania, which is why both the city of Philadelphia and SEPTA did their large scale project outside of the region. There is a desire by the counties to see if we can site that within the region if possible. But again, we have to balance that with the economics of the project, and where those sites might be located, if that could even be a possible development site for a developer, because that's also dependent on things like, how suitable that land is for solar, and if it's within access to the transmission network.
Right, because I'm thinking like, very large parking lots, like for really big malls, where if they do solar, canopy type cover over parking lots. But I have heard, because of the materials and of course the support structures that you need to do that, then it increases the cost. Although it's like all this impervious area, it just seems to make sense. But I know there are things that go into it. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Liz, this is Steve Clark. I have two questions. What is the, so June of next year, the feasibility will be done. What is the output of that feasibility, and will that be made known to the commission or the public?
Yeah, so the feasibility phase ends with sort of a report with like a summary of the strategies that were evaluated, the pros and cons of each, and then what ultimately was recommended and why. And the consultant isn't going to be developing that in a vacuum. They're going to be developing those strategies with respect to what the county's feedback is on the pros and cons of each of those strategies. And we did not specify if that report is going to be made public or not.
Okay. And the second question is, this power purchase agreement it looks at least to be somewhat in competition with what Provident Energy does for many of the same clients. Is there any mechanism or consideration of how Provident would possibly help nudge their clients to, or is there a concern that they could be losing business to this, or how could they possibly be engaged here?
Yeah, I think that Provident's strategy is going to be evaluated as one of the possible strategies for everybody moving forward. So that's going to be one of the strategies on the table that's compared to the alternatives. And I think that consideration that other folks are doing that as well is going to have to be a part of this, since we want additional folks to be onboarded as possible. And yeah, I think we would just kind of look to the county's relationship with Provident to kind of navigate how that would look going forward. And yeah, Commissioner Ruther had the comment about closed landfills and brownfields as possible sites, and that's absolutely the case. I think that I was talking with Robert Young at Pennsylvania DEP yesterday, who's putting together guidance on utility scale solar for landowners, mostly in central Pennsylvania, who are experiencing the development pressure from these developers, since there is so much more demand. And one of the things he said is that in addition to counties and municipalities being able to put out guidance for landowners or ordinances to guide how these things are developed in their communities, we also can signal to the market how we want these things developed by what we put into our RFP. So if we say that we have a preference for utilizing abandoned mines or underutilized land or brownfields, in the RFP, that sends a signal to the market and, puts us in line to potentially be a candidate for one of those sites.
Okay, any other questions from commission members for Liz? Okay, and actually I think next on our agenda, I think it's public comment. Let me see. It's actually after new business, but I do see another comment from Mike, if maybe we just wanted to cover that quickly. Says, I'm not opposed to solar on landfill sites, but you'd think that solar on box store roofs and on parking lot canopies would be cheaper than building structural support on a landfill site and would be closer to the load since the landfill is rural and is 2 counties away from Delco. David Director says, also putting solar on open parking lots benefits the car owners by keeping the cars out of the weather. Okay, so thank you, Liz, for your
Thank you, Liz.
presentation.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for your time. Have a great day, all.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay, next item is a new business. Francine, did you want to kick that off?
Yeah, so it's time to elect our officers. So our co-chairs, 1 chair from government, 1 chair from public, our vice chair, and our secretary. We don't have a quorum, I don't think, for government. Can we double check that? Ed McGargy had to go to a zoning board meeting, so he could not stay. So we have Tom, we have, let me see, is Mark still on the line? I mean, on the call? We have Laura Goodrich, Karen, I think, yeah, we don't have a quorum. So Tom, Laura, and yeah, we don't have a.
Yeah, you, Tom, and Laura.
I'm here, Francine, just
I
under,
see.
under Joe. I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Oh,
Mark.
okay.
Yeah, so we do have 4 people, including
Yeah,
myself.
you
So
do.
we can vote then?
You do, yeah.
All right, so I guess we asked, does anyone from the government group want to be a co-chair? I'm willing to take on the role again, but if anybody else would like to join, we'll then vote.
I think that's appropriate, being that you're the chief sustainability officer and we could support you in any way you need help.
I'll second that motion.
Yes, and
Thank
I'll third
you.
that too.
And you're also awesome.
Well, that was the best thing ever. That was so nice. All right, cool. Then that will be it. Anything else that we have to do for official business for that? And we'll move on to the other. I guess that's it. Okay, so for the other co-chair, it's a member of the public. And I know that Carol is offering her services again to continue with her co-chair position. But if there's anyone else who would like to take over this role, please volunteer and we can have a vote.
I vote for Carol.
Second the nomination.
Same, vote.
Okay. I think Carol has it. All right, cool. And so then we have the vice chair. Jacqueline Rhodes is our vice chair. She's been very helpful as always being there if we need her. And so wondering if, Jacqueline, you do want to continue to be vice chair, correct?
I'm happy to help. I'm also happy to step down. Whatever
Okay.
people decide.
All right. So any commission members of the public? Jacqueline, she's willing to continue, but if anybody else would like to, please say it now.
I'll make the motion for Jacqueline.
I'll second.
Thank you, Laura and Becky. Becca, forgive me, good Lord. My middle name's Becky, Becca. All right. And so then unfortunately, we don't have our secretary here today. He is unable to be here, but I think we can still hold the vote. Carol, is that correct? All right.
I'll nominate Sean for secretary.
Thank you, Becky.
Second.
David. Okay. That's it, Carol.
Okay.
Awesome.
great.
Thank you.
It was a lot easier than last year.
Yes. Yeah. The secretary has the role of writing the meeting minutes, which is not a fun job, and he's been doing a fantastic job. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. So let's see.
Thanks, Crystal.
Sorry. Okay, so we're still on new business. Would anyone like to bring up any other new business? Okay.
I mean, I
hearing
know
none.
everybody's
Oh.
interested in probably getting done early. I just wanted to share. And this could be taken up with the Zero Waste Task Force. I brought this up in that meeting, but the thought of having some kind of either a hotline, hot email, I don't even know if that's a word, where people could find out more about what can or cannot be recycled, like tips or information. Like I find it very hard for people to figure that out, or where to bring unusual items and when. And could be that it is all in one central place. There is an easy information source on our website, but almost like sending something out to every homeowner. Maybe it goes with the tax bill coming up that helps provide that clarity. Something to think about, because I know we're getting close to tax season. An app, yes, definitely. I'm just thinking something quick that could go out now and then maybe build towards that. But I figured as, something that we can work on now that could be further refined with the consultant, or, something else that we just all take on. So if any good ideas out there, I think Mike had suggested and was sending around an example of that.
I have one. I'll make a shameless plug for my nonprofit, afewsteps.org. On the webpage is a guide somewhere on there, and I will find the link and send it out. There is a link for that's pretty well up to date, a spreadsheet that shows where to recycle all kinds of things, merchants who accept various kinds of recycling and so on, for most of the kinds of things that you might encounter around the house. Just sort of general information. And at least it's a place, as you say, a starting place.
That sounds great. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy if people send me the links to collect it and try to get this moving. Francine, if there's a way that we think that we could provide links to people, like I said, as a little insert to tax bill, that would be awesome. Laura has her hand up.
Not for recycling, Jacqueline. So if you want to continue that first.
Oh, okay. Anyway, like I said, happy to collect that information and try to work further. And Francine, just
I can work with our treasurer. We can work with the treasurer's office about how that would work in terms of having that as an insert to something that goes to every resident in the county. I think that my question is regarding giving that guidance and to folks is not everybody is recycling the same way. And so that's kind of interesting throughout the county. The municipalities have different ways. I'm presuming they're all single stream recycling, those that are recycling. So I think that the Zero Waste Associates firm, when they're doing their dive into the 49 municipalities, will be very enlightening to find out what's going on there. So sending out a recycling flyer like that in general would be good. And I'm hoping that each one of the municipalities that are recycling is doing it the same way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we'd have to look through that, but I also think even just the harder to send recycle items or what to do with things you shouldn't throw in the trash, that is also helpful. And if there are any issues related to like just budget, for printing these items, we might be able to find a nonprofit partner that could pay for the printing, and then all the county would have to do, assuming you agree to the language, is just having them there to whatever process goes through with stuffing it in the envelope.
Well, I'll find out about that process and how we can do it.
Okay, great.
Laura, did you have new business?
I do. I just want to, as a point of information for this commission, the county has undertaken a public broadband survey. If you haven't seen it, it's at delcopa.gov/broadband. There's an internal committee that includes some of Francine's people who have been working probably since the second quarter of this year, collecting additional data sets on what was gathered during COVID and also at the beginning of 2021 in order to prepare for the infrastructure bill, which has now been passed. And it's going to focus on unserved areas in Delaware County, both residents and business owners, in addition to underserved. So there is a speed test located there. We understand the irony of taking an online test to discover if you have broadband access. So we've partnered with the Delaware County Library System, the state representative offices, and the municipal buildings to be able to provide a paper survey if needed, or they do have flyers with a QR code too. Right now, we're keeping that open until about mid-January as we watch what the state and the federal government are going to do and how that those dollars will flow to be able to address digital equity in Delaware County. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Steve Clark, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, do we still have the interns for social media or did they go away?
Yeah, we don't have them right now, but we are we're getting a new one at the end of January. But I'm doing social media myself, so I can do whatever you'd like if you have something.
Oh, okay. Because I was wondering, yeah, because there was a steady stream, I think, when they're here in November, and you know, if the feed is good and has good content, I think you'll get more followers and more people will be able to, you know, follow, even including all this recycling information. And then it just stopped end of November for that reason. But Francine, so if commission members have suggestions of like a little content or tip or something for, you know, should they send it to you? Is that?
Yeah, please do. I've been trying to update it. The only things I've really had lately were that we're having this meeting, so please register.
But it's not just about the county, what the county's doing, but it'd be general information to help everybody, you know, be more sustainable and cut carbon, right? That's what the feed would do.
Yes, I think that would be great. Please share with me and I'll post. We have Twitter,
Awesome.
Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other new business? Okay, hearing none, it's a public comment. And so let me see if there's any public comment or if anyone in the public would like to say anything or ask a question. Oh, Christine.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to say, I don't think he's still on the meeting, but tonight you didn't have Meg McNichol from the Solid Waste Authority, but you did have Jim Warner, who was hired by the Solid Waste Authority as a consultant to basically review and help the board rebuild the authority staff, because it had previously been sort of a two-man show run by the CEO and the solicitor, both of whom are deceased now, but you know, had left the authority very recently and had no succession plan in place. So we're kind of Mike McNichol is chief of operations and doesn't really feel comfortable in a role representing the authority here, but Jim is getting his arms around sort of what we do at the Solid Waste Authority. And I think, and by the way, he was, until he retired, for over 20 years, like the head of the Lancaster County Solid Waste Authority. So he really knows what he's talking about. He has a good idea, or will, I think, by the time you have your next meeting, have a very good idea of what the operations are currently, and then how they can be improved. But I do think he should be the representative for the Solid Waste Authority on this board. And I'd be happy to just get whatever formal communication you need sent to whoever you need it sent to. But he ought to be participating. And I especially with regard to the to the solid waste management plan work that Zero Waste is doing for the commission, because like it or not, if you're talking about the landfill, if you're talking about collections of trash, if you're talking about continuing to have a centralized party handling, end stage waste, or even trying to aggregate and provide central solutions for recycling, it's hard to get around having the solid waste authority involved unless the county wants to take that on itself.
I think that's a great point. That has been a missing participant in our commission meetings. And so after this meeting, I'll try to make a connection and try and bring the group together, if that makes sense, to have the most appropriate person from the Solid Waste Authority join this commission consistently. And your recommendation again, Christine, was what?
Yeah, his name's Jim Warner. He's not a full-time employee. He is a consultant though, but he's really functioning until we actually hire a CEO. He's functioning as sort of, I think from a planning and strategic perspective, is in a far better position than Mike McNichol is to assist this commission with its work. And I think that, Mike's going to be okay with that because Mike doesn't feel comfortable playing that kind of a role.
Thank you so much for sharing that information with us, because that is definitely an important person to have on this commission as we're going through this process. Thank you, Councilmember Ruther.
Okay, any other, public comment? Okay, I'll share my screen again. It looks like now we're up to adjournment. So if there isn't anything else, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I will.
Okay, thanks, Jacqueline. Would someone like to second that?
I'll second it.
Oh. Did you get that, Francine? I'm not sure who.
I did not get the second. Who are we going to use there?
Steve Clark.
It was either me or Steve.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, so moved. We're adjourned today and earlier than 8 o'clock. So, all right, thank you, everybody. Happy holidays, and I look forward to seeing you at the next meeting. Thank you, Francine.
Yes, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Bye.
Happy holidays.
Hey, happy holidays.
Bye.
Happy holidays.